guests, Sade Badenois, Mike Marza, and Tanya Rivero, all of them in Philadelphia. And boy, the excitement is palpable, guys.
It certainly is, Bill and Liz. I was on the debate stage earlier this afternoon. It is an intimate set. Vice President Harris and former President Trump will be standing just 6 feet apart.
And we've been talking about this. This is going to be the remarkable moment. These two have never even met, so you don't want to miss the point when they walk across the stage and lock eyes for the first time. Question is, will they shake hands? All of it's up to them. There is no rule whether they should or they should not. Can former President Trump remain restrained throughout the evening? Can Vice President Harris reintroduce herself to voters? Just some of the questions that will be answered later on tonight.
And just moments ago, we heard from President Biden. He spoke about the debate while on his way to New York.
I'm going up to my granddaughter's birthday in New York. Then we're going to watch the debate. And then tomorrow I'm doing 9/11. I spoke to the Vice President. She seemed calm, cool, and collected. I think she's going to do great.
This is not only the first and possibly only debate between Vice President Harris and former President Trump, it is also the first and possibly only time the two will ever come face to face. Vice President Harris arriving in Philadelphia last night. President Trump en route to Philadelphia right now.
While the candidates have remained out of the public eye today, their surrogates have been out talking about what each other needs to accomplish.
This is another opportunity to introduce herself, make sure that people understand who she is and what informs her values and how she wants to govern this country.
He prefers to have those policy discussions, and he's been doing that with elected members in Congress like Matt Gaetz, with former Congress member Tulsi Gabbard and others, very similar to what he did to prepare for that first debate against Joe Biden.
Last week, in a record radio interview, Ms. Harris spoke about what she expected from Mr. Trump on the debate stage.
There's no floor for him in terms of how low he will go, and we should be prepared for that. We should be prepared for the fact that he is not burdened by telling the truth, and we should be prepared for the fact that he is probably going to speak a lot of untruth.
For his part, Trump told NBC News today, quote, "You don't know what to expect. She's changed all of her policies over the years."
This will be Mr. Trump's 7th presidential debate. His strategy in the past, to antagonize and intimidate.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
And while this is Vice President Harris's first presidential debate, she is a former prosecutor who has a strong history of holding her own on a debate stage.
He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
We all remember that moment indeed. So we know that Harris did arrive here taking a tour of the space, and that happened this afternoon at around 2:30.
That's right, and we did want to take a moment now to talk about what is going to happen tonight. What about these rules that have been debated and gone back and forth between both camps? We know this. Candidates will be introduced by the moderators. No opening statements. Closing statements will be 2 minutes per candidate. Microphones will be muted when it's the other person's opportunity to speak. No props or pre-written notes, and no topics or questions shared in advance. And this is key, no audience in the room.
And while there won't be a lot of people inside the debate hall, the spin room will without a doubt be packed. That is where we find the third member of our team, Eyewitness News anchor Tanya Rivero. Tanya?
Well, Sade and Mike, this is certainly the room where it happens. This room is continuing to fill up as press from all over the world descend here to this spin room. I just got a chance to speak with Trump surrogate Congressman Byron Donalds, who represents Southwest Florida, but he is a Brooklyn boy born and bred. He grew up in Crown Heights. Tell the undecided voter why they should vote for Donald Trump.
Inflation is hurting every family in America. Donald Trump will get inflation under control. We do need more energy in our country. We should be energy dominant. Donald Trump will do that. Donald Trump will secure the border, and Donald Trump will make sure that we get out of these conflicts across the globe and we will have peace. The reason why I can say that with such fervor is because he already did it once. He could do it again. If those are the things that concern you, then you should be voting for Donald Trump.
As for other Republicans expected here tonight to support the former president, vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance, Robert Kennedy Jr., as well as Vivek Ramaswamy and Senators Marco Rubio and Rick Scott. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, representing Vice President Harris, Governors Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Gavin Newsom of California, Roy Cooper of North Carolina, and Michelle Lujan Grisham of New Mexico. Ms. Harris also inviting two guests to the debate, Anthony Scaramucci and Olivia Troy, two former Trump administration officials who have become outspoken critics of the former president. It's a move clearly designed to get under Mr. Trump's skin. I spoke with both of them. What would you say to Republicans or conservatives who say, okay, yes, maybe I don't want to vote for Donald Trump, but I can't bring myself to vote for Kamala Harris, a Democrat? Should they sit out the election? What would you tell them to cast a vote?
No, I think every vote matters in this election. And if you are not okay with what you're seeing in Donald Trump and his agenda and what's happening here, I know, party identity can be real. I understand that. I used to be that straight ticket Republican voter. I completely understand that it's hard. It's hard to kind of, walk away from that. But I'll tell you, in this moment, you could make a difference in changing the trajectory of what will happen in our country.
What is the most important thing that undecided voters need to know about Donald Trump?
I just think it's a character and temperament issue. I just really study what he's done and think about the 40 of us, including myself and Olivia Troy, who are trying to explain to you the danger of his personality and why he shouldn't return to the White House.
And as we said, it is starting to get crowded here in the spin room. You can see behind me, the room is really filling up. We will be here all night. Back to you, Mike and Sade.
It's always an interesting experience in the spin room as they try to frame how we should view the night. Tanya, thank you.
The excitement is building.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we're also anticipating the arrival of former President Trump. We expect him to arrive in Philadelphia in less than 30 minutes. Secret Service already getting positioned as we get closer to this big debate tonight.
Yeah, and as soon as he gets here at the National Constitution Center, he will go through his official walkthrough of the debate stage. Bill and Liz, back to you.
And then the debate will begin at